Hello guys, it is Yamche Pundit here and welcome back. So this is episode 3 of the Sunday Sit-Down, and today we've got a couple of stories to talk about. One Premier League manager is out the door, unfortunately another rugby player's death, and also big news in the IPL auction for cricket. That's all to come, guys. Okay, so let's not hang around. Let's get into this first story of today. And probably the biggest news of the week, really, coming out of the world of sport is the sacking of Claudio Ranieri from Leicester City. So those of you who don't know who he is, he's an Italian manager. He's had mixed success in his career. He's done well in some clubs, not so well in others. But last season, he led Leicester City to their first ever Premier League title. They've had 5,000 to 1 odds of doing it. They're probably favourites for relegation. He actually led them to win the Premiership. And it was just a fantastic achievement. Everyone thought he was pretty untouchable until this season. They haven't done as well in the league. They've done pretty well in the Champions League, which is a European competition. They're through to the last 16. Haven't done so well in the Premiership, though. I think they're 1 point above the relegation zone. Haven't scored, I don't think, in 2017 yet. They're not doing very well. So he's been shown a door. It's been a bit of a pretty unpopular decision from the fans and experts. He's won the Premiership less than a year ago and he's out the door. From a sentimental point of view, I understand why people are upset about this. Obviously, he's led the club to massive success, which they never dreamt of. He's a bit of a cult hero up in Leicester, and he won it. He won the Premiership with what was a fairly average team. He obviously had some very good players in there, Vardy, Mahrez, and N'Golo Kante. They then sold Kante to Chelsea, and this year just hasn't really been their year. Kind of think that maybe teams know what to expect from Leicester now, so know how to play them. Last year they're a bit of an unknown quantity and they just kept surprising teams over and over and over again. This year, however, I think teams have worked them out and realised that they are a bit of a threat and to just change their game plan accordingly. Looking at it from, say, a business perspective, and let's face it, modern sports is a business. And money matters, money counts. You want to be at the top of your game. I understand in a way why this decision was made. You can't hold on to someone for sentimental values if it risks the future of your organisation. In this case, if Leicester City went down, they got relegated, they have to sell their bigger players. They're not going to want to hang around and play in a lower tier of football. And it is then a bit of a struggle to come back up. You don't want to then become a yo-yo team up and down, up and down. So you want a bit of stability in that Premiership. And it doesn't look as though Leicester necessarily have that this year. So I kind of understand why that decision has been made. However, I feel as though Leicester should probably have given him more time. Although he is obviously a good manager, he did win the Premiership. Maybe a bit more trust in his abilities rather than a bit of a immediate reaction to a situation. It's a bit of a strange bit of timing of it as well. They're actually going very well in Europe. This move could well do more harm than good. Okay, guys, moving on to the second story of the day. Dan Vickerman, he was a Wallaby, Rugby Union International player for Australia. He unfortunately died during the week. The reporters are saying they're not suspicious circumstances, but everyone's pretty much saying he committed suicide. He does leave behind 2 young children, so it's obviously extremely sad. There's still plenty of stigma around mental health and suicide in particular, and how some people were thinking it's a very, very selfish act. I completely disagree. Mental health is one of those things that you just see darkness, is that there's nothing else that you see, and what is irrational to everybody else around you is rational in your own mind, whether that means committing suicide or not. Sometimes you think it's the only possible way to go. So I think work needs to be done in the world in general to sort of get rid of the stigma around mental health, and also possibly more help for professional athletes when they retire. So, some of these guys are not necessarily just rugby players, but everyone who's involved in professional sport, where one day they're competing in front of thousands of people and adoring them every single day, and then suddenly it's over and they've got to start again. Unless you're in a sport such as football and you're getting paid ridiculous money, then that's okay, you can sort of transition. But if you're in a sport like a lot of cricketers, like a lot of rugby players, like a lot of athletes just in general, yes, they get by quite well, but they've still got to go and find themselves a career after their playing days. I can imagine that's a massive change for these guys, and I'm really not surprised that a lot of athletes suffer from depression and mental health issues. So I think that a lot more support needs to go to these guys post playing, post competing. I think, and I think that's going to be a bit of an ongoing story. But something needs to be done. I think it's probably up to the individual governing bodies of each sport to try and put things into place. They already have things in place, but I think it's about really trying to connect with these athletes after they've played, not just necessarily getting them a job, but their overall well-being, I think, needs to be looked at a lot more. Okay, let's go into the third and final story of this week that I've picked out anyway, and that is the IPL auction over in India. So the IPL is the world's biggest 2020 competition based in India. Basically, what happens is each player that plays is put through an auction, and teams bid for them, and then those players get that money. And two stand out for me. Or you got your sort of big name international players and your high rep players, particularly in 2020. 2020 is a bit of a more specialised version of the game. But there are two names that stood out for me, not just because they're English, just because there's two examples, different ends of the scale perhaps. Ben Stokes is the first one. He's a New England Test match vice captain. He was sold for 2.16 million US dollars. That's about 1.7 million pounds. That's a life-changing sum of money. That's massive. And the reason why I picked him out is because England don't curtail their schedule or don't necessarily let their Test players play in the IPL. They don't let them go. So I'm not sure what the story is around Ben Stokes, whether or not England have got a bit of a break that allows him to play. I know they don't necessarily encourage them because I think they want them to rest up for the English summer. I think if you're put in a position like this and Ben Stokes has been offered that kind of money, I'm not sure if you can necessarily turn it down. So maybe, is this signalling a shift in the view, particularly of English cricket? I know that other nations sort of encourage their players to play in these competitions to allow more freedom, but England's cricketers are essentially contracted. So it's this tricky situation between the parties, but I think it's showing a bit of a shift necessarily from Test cricket over to 2020. I know players like Joe Root, for example, he's turned around and said he's not going to play any IPL this year because he wants to focus on his preparation for the Test series, and that's fine. Maybe Ben Stokes is going to give this one competition a go, get the money and run, and maybe when he's finished from Test cricket, get in there and play. Perhaps, I'm not sure, but I think England need to relax a little bit and let their players earn that kind of money whilst they can. Kevin Peterson tried to balance it and it didn't end well for him. Financially ended very well because he ended up playing 2020 all over the world, but for his England career, it just basically finished that, and he was a bit of an idiot in the dressing room. The other one that I want to pick out is a player called Tymor Mills. He's a bowler. Now, this guy is a 2020 specialist. He's English. He's very, very fast. He got sold for just shy of 1.8 million US dollars, which is about 1.4 million pounds. The reason I picked him out is because he only plays 2020. He played first-class cricket and he played one-day cricket, and he suffered some pretty serious back injuries. So now what he does, he just blasts 2020 basically and just bowls as quick as he can for 4 overs a game. And it works for him. He's a very, very effective T20 player. He's very good. And yeah, fair play to him because he's using his skills to get the payday in competitions like the IPL. I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the Big Bash in Australia next year. And that's the other end of the scale. These guys who are solely focusing on this money-making aspect of cricket, which I do not have a problem with at all. I think that's fantastic. If you've got the skills, then obviously, by all means, cash in because that's what you get at. So fair enough, fair play, you go and do it. Okay, guys, so let's move on to this week's athlete profile.
Look out, Messi trying to split two, cuts around, again, Messi starts, deflected shot inches wide.
Okay, so this athlete is 29 years old. He's 5'7", so he's not the biggest guy. He scored 331 goals in 368 league appearances for his club. He scored 57 goals in 116 appearances for his country. This week's Athlete of the Week is Lionel Messi. So, Lionel Messi has been for a long time the best player in the world. Currently, he's sharing that sort of mantle with Cristiano Ronaldo, who is in his own right an incredible player. There's a bit of a divide between the two, Ronaldo or Messi. He's sort of in one camp or the other. I just appreciate them both for the sort of athletes and competitors that they are. They're both extremely talented in what they do. and I just love watching them both play. But this week we're going to talk about Lionel Messi, his achievements, and maybe some aspects that he maybe not has achieved so much in. So let's have a look. So he's won 8 La Liga titles. So Barcelona, he plays for Barcelona. Barcelona play in Spain. They play for the La Liga. He's won 8 titles, which is an incredible amount since he's 29 years old. He's won 4 Champions Leagues, which is a European competition. Players dream of winning 1, maybe 2, depending on what club you're at. He's won 4, so he's doing pretty bloody well. He's been in a very good Barcelona team, but he's been the spearhead of that Barcelona side. He's won 5 Ballon d'Ors, which is basically Player of the Year. He's won that 5 times, which is mind-blowing. You can win it 5 times. He's been world top goal scorer. Now, considering he plays in La Liga, which is one of the most competitive leagues in the world, along with the Champions League and that kind of thing, they're not easy competitions to score goals in. The fact that he's been a world top goal scorer twice is pretty significant. You know, you'd expect to see it from leagues that were maybe a bit weaker, but yeah, just to see the guy get it twice in that sort of level of competition is amazing. At club level, the guy has won it all, and technically he's just the best player in the world. He's definitely up there with Maradona and Pele in terms of legends of the game. The guy is incredible. He's just a balance, and considering he's not very big, he just looks so easy on the ball. Everything he does looks so easy. The guy is so incredible. And at club level, as I said, he's won everything that he could win. Does he need to change his challenge and maybe play in England, perhaps? Maybe Italy? Yeah, I think it wouldn't do him any harm to show that. If he went to, say, England and he won a few competitions in England, he could probably put himself up there as the best player to have ever played the game. What he hasn't succeeded in. Now, obviously, club career has been extremely successful. He's won it all, but internationally, he hasn't really won anything. Yes, he's a captain of Argentina. Yes, he scored a lot of goals for Argentina, but they haven't won anything. And he temporarily retired. He's come back from that retirement now because Argentina need him. They've got a very, very good team, but without him, pretty not average. But I'm not sure if they're going to really compete. The problem being is in the South American conference, so that's very, very competitive. You've got Brazil, Uruguay, teams like that. And the World Cup, they've not really challenged too much. They've done okay, they're not really challenged, but that's not Messi's fault at all. You know, can he work with what's around him? But you can't take anything away from the guy. He's up there with the best players who've ever played football, and he deserves everything that he gets. Let's have a quick look around the rumour mill for this week. So, as we previously mentioned, Claudio Ranieri lost his job at Leicester City, so let's take a look at some of the guys who may be replacing him. Mancini and Gus Hiddink have both been linked to the job. Both of them are very successful managers in their own right, and I think Leicester will be looking big, and when I mean by big, I mean a big name to take over Ranieri. I don't think they're going to go the sort of Nigel Pearson route, lesser known manager. I think they're going to go for big, well-known international manager because they've tasted that success. They know what it's like. They want to be competing in Europe again. I don't think Nigel Pearson or a manager like him is necessarily the sort of person who's going to get them there. So I think they're going to go after a big-name manager. Mancini and Gus Hiddink, they could well be the guys in the mix. David De Gea of Man United, he could be heading to Madrid with centre-back Varane heading the other way. Bit of a swap deal going on. De Gea, it's been a rumour for a little while now that he could be heading to Madrid. I think it almost happened a couple of years ago, but a bit of an error with the fax machine. Something along those kind of lines, I think, stopped it in the last minute. It's this rumour just hasn't gone away for De Gea leaving. United are going to want something out of the deal more than money, I think. I think they're going to want a class player, and Varane could well be that player. James Rodriguez has also been mentioned, but last week said he's going to stay at the club and turn down a possible move, so that looks like it could be out of the way. But Varane would be a very good addition to that Man United squad. And lastly but not least, so with the possible impending departure of Arsene Wenger, it could lead to some of the Arsenal players abandoning ship. Some of the guys have signed there because Arsene Wenger is the manager, not necessarily because they're in love with the club. And I've read that Hector Bellerin, one of the key players at Arsenal, could be on his way to Barcelona. Could this be a sign of things to come? If Wenger leaves, could that be the start of a mass exodus at Arsenal? I think it would depend on who they get in to replace him. They need a high-end manager with a very good reputation to keep hold of that team and possibly make some much-needed class additions to that side. Anyway, guys, I hope you liked it. Give a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe for more. and I'll see you next week. Cheers.